So what do you do if someone sneezes around you with the potential of them having the virus? Let's talk about the different factors involved. First thing you need to know is sneezing is not one of the symptoms of COVID-19. Chances are it's probably the pollen that's causing that more than the COVID-19. And for the virus to invade your body, it has to go through either through the eyes, if you're rubbing your eyes, through your mouth, putting your hand in your mouth, through the nose, breathing something in potentially, or picking your nose, or touching your face. You have to realize that the great majority of people who have been infected with COVID-19 had no symptoms or had very, very mild symptoms. One really important factor of whether you get mild symptoms, no symptoms, or severe symptoms has to do with the viral load of how concentrated those virus particles are, as well as the health of your immune system. But even if you're healthy, or you, for an example, are in an environment that has a high concentration of viruses, and I'm talking about working in a hospital, let's say you're a doctor or a nurse, or let's say you work in a nursing home, obviously you're going to be in an environment that is much more concentrated with viruses, and your symptoms could be greater. And I think with airports, very shortly, they're going to probably be measuring your temperature before you get on the plane. So that'll probably rule out those people that are severely sick, hopefully. But apparently this virus is more contagious than they thought. And there's some really interesting data. I did a video on this recently. I'll put a link down below that shows that the amount of people that were infected was much, much greater than what was thought. And I'm talking about orders of magnitude 50 times more. So that means that if there's that many more people that were infected that overcame the infection and that developed antibodies, this means that COVID-19 is 50 times less deadly than they thought it was. So let's talk about the different variables involved in someone sneezing on you. You have the number or concentration of viruses. So when someone's talking to you versus coughing on you versus breathing, each one of these is different. If someone's breathing, the chances of them passing on some virus is very, very, very almost insignificant. Of course, coughing, it's more. Sneezing, it's a little bit more. Talking, it's much, much less. Typically, when people talk to you, they're not projecting spit on you. Well, I take that back. Some people do spit on you when they talk to you. That's happened before. And then we have the velocity of the little droplet, okay? So the speed, of course, is going to be faster if someone's sneezing. So it really depends on the velocity or the power of that droplet being projected. If the size of the droplet is large, it's going to end up very quickly on the ground, okay? If it's small, it might reach maybe 3 feet at the very most. On a rare occasion, it might be 6 feet. Then you have the tiny droplets, which is kind of like an aerosol type small particles that could potentially even be carried from a little bit of dust. But if that happens, just realize that that's a very weak concentration of viruses, and the viral loads are much, much smaller. So if you did get infected, the symptoms would be much, much less. So we now have the distance, which I just mentioned, which is 3 to 6 feet. And then we have something that's probably the most important thing is your susceptibility to the virus. Do you have pre-existing health problems? What's the state or condition of your immune system? How old are you? Did you realize that the odds of someone dying from COVID-19 in Europe, there's a study done in Europe, is roughly about the same as getting in a car accident and dying from you driving from your house to your place of work. And I'll put that reference down below. It's very rare. Now, if you do have pre-existing health problems and you are over the age of 65, you want to start supporting the immune system. These 3 nutrients are the most important. Vitamin D, minimum 20,000 IUs every single day. Get a lot of sun or take this as a supplement. You want D3. And then zinc, 75 milligrams every single day. Very important. Vitamin C, 200 milligrams every single day. Make sure it's a food base, not a synthetic ascorbic acid. But if you support your immune system, you won't be as susceptible to getting the virus. All right, and then we have your environment. Where do you work? I already mentioned this. Do you work in a hospital, a nursing home? A good percentage of people dying from COVID-19 are related to this right here, because you have two things. You have people with pre-existing health problems, you have older people, but then you also have the concentration of the viruses. So exposing yourself to these two environments are probably not the best thing to do. So if you have a mild cough or a symptom, don't run to the hospital, because that could actually cause you to have an infection. So anyway, I wanted to cover these factors involved with sneezing